All right, shalom, and welcome to another show of GMS Collage. Giving all praises to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai as always. Double honors to the elders, the elder apostles of GMS who rule well, and also honor and salutation to you other brothers that are out there teaching the word in sincerity and truth. All right, so I was, poking around on the internet yesterday. Excuse me. Excuse me. I was poking around on the internet yesterday, and I found this article here about Russia boycotting the nuclear security summit, which I think is going to be held today. And as you can see, for those of us who are in the know, those of us who read scripture and understand the scripture and truth, we know that this is sticking to the script. If you read Ezekiel 38, if you read Jeremiah 50, you know that Russia is going to be that the main one who shoots those nuclear missiles onto the United States of America, the place where we serve this captivity. And this is just another indication that they're sticking to script. All right, so I'm going to read this article. I'm probably going to bounce around it a little bit. I got another article that touches on Vladimir Putin a little bit, and then I'm going to hit a couple of scriptures, and that'll be it. Shouldn't take me too long, so bear with me. All right, so start this up. It says Russia to boycott 2016 nuclear security summit. It says Russia has informed the United States that it will boycott the 2016 nuclear security summit. Diplomats said on Tuesday, potentially stripping the meeting of one of its key participants and hurting efforts initiated by President Barack Obama to reduce the threat of nuclear terrorism. So, based on that statement, I'm assuming that this summit is to for talks of peace. In other words, for all the nations that hold that nuclear missile to get together and for them to talk peace, so that we don't fight a nuclear war. But as we know, as the scriptures say, that last war will be a nuclear war, that third world's war. All right, so it says here, officials already had said on Monday that Moscow was absent from last week's initial summit planning session in Washington, but had left it unclear whether Russia planned to attend the summit itself. On Tuesday, two diplomats said the boycott applied to the 2016 meeting as well. They cited as their source a diplomatic note from Moscow to the U.S. and other nations planning to participate. The diplomats spoke on condition of anonymity because they are not allowed to discuss confidential information. It says one of the diplomats said the note expressed opposition to the summit because of its alleged political nature. He cited the note as saying that any meeting on nuclear security should be on a technical level and convened not by a nation but the UN's International Atomic Energy Agency. So, Vladimir Putin has always had an issue. If you go and look up his interviews, you go look up anything that's written on him, with America being the one who's making the decisions. He's always maintained that the decisions should be made nationally, not by one nation, which is America. So of course America is protecting its own interests, and you can speculate, but we know because of prophecy that they're trying to upset prophecy. So that it is in their best interest to get the so-called peace talks going. It is in their best interest to get these other nations to not to shoot these missiles, because that's what the prophecy says that it would do, right? As a matter of fact, I want to read. I have Jeremiah 50 and 9 here, but I want to go to, I think it's yep. Matter of fact, I'll read it because it goes down into what I want to read. So it says, this is Jeremiah 50 and 9. It says, "For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country." So that assembly of great nations is that Russia or the Soviet Union. So I always say this, and I think we know this because of prophecy. If you read Ezekiel 38, it says that there would be an assembly of great nations. So you got a lot of people that think that the Soviet Union has been dissolved, right? That it's no more since the Cold War is over. That the Soviet Union had separated and it dissolved. But since Vladimir Putin's rise into power over the last decade or so, he's made small moves here and there to get back to the old way of doing things, right? So that's why I wanted to read this other article. So I'll finish this particular verse and I'll go to the other article. So it says, starting from the top again, it says, "For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. Their arrows shall be as of a mighty expert man, none shall return in vain." So those arrows, of course, are talking about those nuclear missiles, right? So I'm going to read this other article. So this article is from, I don't want to lose my spot, but it's from, I believe, matter of fact, let me go up real quick. This article is from, BBC News. It says Vladimir Putin, the rebuilding of of Soviet Russia. So it just goes into the man who was in power before Vladimir Putin, and Vladimir Putin's kind of first speech and his taking over. And this article is mentioning that if people would have paid attention, they would have saw that Vladimir Putin's idea for Russia was to bring it back to its Soviet days, where it was strong, it was powerful, it had victories in war. So he's always tried to bring it back to that prominence that it had. So that is in line with what the scriptures say in Ezekiel 30th chapter, that he will put hooks into the jaws of those nations and bring them back together and make them strong again, right? So I want to go back down to this particular part. It says here, there was one thing missing to make the world of his childhood complete. So this is talking about Vladimir. The world of his childhood was the Soviet Union. So he grew up as a child during the time of Russia's power. So he was trying to get that back, right? So it says that one thing that was missing was an ideology. So it says Putin restored some Soviet symbols. He brought back the Soviet national anthem and Soviet emblems, and praised the Soviet triumph in World War II. But he embraced pre-Soviet themes too. He befriended the Russian Orthodox Church and name-checked anti-Soviet philosophers like Ivan Ian, whose remains he had repatriated to Russia and buried with honor. This trend towards uniquely Russian form of conservatism accelerated after the wave of protests against electoral fraud that struck Moscow in 2011 and 2012, which alienated Putin from Russia's liberals. Among his favorite ideologues is Vladimir Yakunin, an old friend, a fellow KGB graduate, an Orthodox believer, and now head of Russian Railways, one of the country's most strategically significant companies. So going back to this paragraph here, Vladimir has slowly but surely been trying to bring Russia back to its prominence. So if you see here, these people here are toting the flag of the Soviet Union. All right. So going back to Jeremiah, it says, "And Chaldea shall be a spoil, and all that spoil her shall be satisfied, saith the Lord. Because ye were glad, because ye rejoiced, O ye destroyers of mine heritage, because ye are grown fat as the heifer at grass, and bellow as bulls." So that's talking about America. Now, I was watching this movie last night called, I think it's From 9/11 to JFK, The Rich Man's Trick, or something like that. And it basically chronicled, I forget the guy's name that put the movie together, forgive me, but if you go on YouTube, it's free, you don't have to pay for it, it's on YouTube. It's a 3-hour movie, so set aside 3 hours so that you can watch it. It's definitely riveting. You're not going to be able to stop watching it, so set aside those 3 hours so you can watch it from the start to the finish. But basically what it talked about was these different elites who, with all that you've seen in the world today, with from assassinations to change of power, to to even industrial workers like Henry Ford, like these seemingly separate events that happen throughout history have all been a ploy or a plot for these elites to maintain their riches and to maintain their power. It was an amazing flick, man. So when I read this, when it says, "In Chaldea shall be a spoil, all that spoil her shall be satisfied," saith the Lord. That Chaldea is talking about those different elites, man. That power, and they run their power, they rule their power from America. We always say it, right? That America is the power seat, or is the seat of the wicked, but they really run their power from America, man. All these elites who live here in this country, they're protecting their interests, man, and that's why you have America in so much debt, and they have to pay that debt back because it's in the best interest of these elites, man. It's an amazing flick, man. You got to watch it. So going back, it says, because ye were glad, because ye rejoiced, O ye destroyers of mine heritage. What is the Most High's heritage? The nation of Israel, right? And this place is where we're serving this captivity. It says, because ye are grown fat as the heifer at grass, and bellow as bulls, your mother shall be sore confounded. She that bare you shall be ashamed. Behold, the hindermost of the nations shall be a wilderness, a dry land, and a desert. Because of the wrath of the Lord, it shall not be inhabited, but it shall be wholly desolate. So that this place is going to be destroyed completely, man, by that assembly of great nations from the north. It says, everyone that goeth by Babylon shall be astonished, and hiss at all her plagues. It says, and this is the point I want to get to. Put yourselves in array against Babylon round about, all ye that bend the bow. Shoot at her, spare no arrows, for she hath sinned against the Lord. All right, so Russia is sticking to the script. There's other scriptures that you can go into that show that's what speak about Russia. It talks about the Medes, which is mentioned in Russia. It talks about that assembly of great nations also in Ezekiel the 38th chapter. So Russia is sticking to the script, man, by boycotting this nuclear summit that they're having, the security summit. I just wanted to hit you with that real quick. Hopefully it didn't take too much of your time. Hopefully it was edifying. Hopefully you can go into some of these articles yourselves and read up on these things. So with that, I want to first and foremost, or last and foremost, since I'm closing, give all praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai and show my gratitude for him allowing me to teach this word. Also, honors and salutations to the elders, double honor to the elders, apostles of GMS, who rule well and gave us these tools to teach the word, and also honor and salutations to you other brothers that are out there teaching the word in sincerity and truth. All right, so with that, until the next time, I say shalom.